How'd you sleep? Slept bad. Slept bad. Bad dreams. Uncomfortable. Felt like, again, it feels like my daggone bed is it feels like if this is my body, it feels like my bed just kind of and there's no upward support. It's just like the cushion is just compressed, and then my head feels too high. So that's that. Oh man, I'm gonna be a little bit slow today, and I'm also going to be integrating some new language. I've got some new language. I'm getting coaching on kind of the guidance that I offer and how to make it that much more kind of layered, right? So one of the things to think about is that armor is like layers, right? And the more armor we carry, the more we have to kind of devote time and energy to the armor. And if you can cultivate safety and comfort mentally, physically, and spiritually, you just don't have to carry as much armor. And the less armor that you carry, the more you're able to connect to other people and to yourself in ways that are very restorative and regenerative. So I'm getting coached on that. So I'll be working in some new words. So anyway, let's get started. I like today's stanza a lot. I really enjoy this type of kind of intention setting or this notion. The notion itself I find really appealing. The 22nd stanza of the Art of Peace is as follows. The penetrating brilliance of swords, wielded by followers of the way, strikes at the enemy, the evil enemy, lurking deep within their own souls and bodies. So penetrating brilliance. So when we go into the present moment, we penetrate all the stuff. So all this coulda, woulda, shoulda, all the anger about this, all the frustration about that. This person is this, or this institution is that, or this situation is this. Penetrating brilliance is that, boom, you blow that up. Wielded by followers of the way, okay? Followers of the way is followers of the art of peace. So followers of the way are followers of the understanding that what's going on and all the stuff that's kind of consuming and super important are all just layers, right? And so as you understand that they're just layers, you begin to understand that you have agency in regards to these layers. These layers aren't end all be all, they're just layers. You can choose, is this valuable, is this valuable, is this valuable? And a follower of the way recognizes that. And that's what we're trying to do here. That's what you're participating with the Art of Peace with me for, is to develop your own way. And mindfulness is the kind of the grease that, keeps it all going. The evil lurking within, the evil enemy, right? The evil enemy. And the evil enemy is a little bit like what we talked about yesterday, which is if you concern yourself with the good and bad, testing, competing, criticizing, weakening, and defeating. The enemy lurking deep within our own souls and bodies. So part of what I think is really interesting about the current kind of situation, and kind of across the board, is that everyone is using extremes to articulate their point. This is the greatest blank in history. This is the worst blank in history. I am the blank in history. This is the best. How could this possibly not be this? Or how could this possibly not be that? So this constant comparison, constant articulation of extreme, the operating from extreme, etc., 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 is the enemy. And the reason why it's the enemy is the second you operate from an extreme, you create its opposite. You cannot facilitate the creation of an extreme without creating a hierarchy. And so that is where the evil lies. Because anytime an extreme gets made, and it creates an environment to be challenged. And the problem with that is that while you could have enough power to defeat most challengers, what will eventually happen is you'll run up against a challenge, or you'll run up against a situation that's just too big. And that always happens. It always. There is no exception to this rule. So the way, the followers of the way tend to move away from extremes as a kind of a foundation. So instead of creating extremes, instead of creating hierarchies and bifurcating things as good and bad, the practitioner of the art of peace attempts to recognize things three levels, you know, the kind of the idea of it, the experience of it, and the bigger picture of it. And by putting it in these different frameworks, there's a lot more space, and there's a lot less need for armor. And the less armor you need, the more harmonious your internal environment is. The more harmonious your internal environment is, the better you're blending with what's going on. And what makes so much value, or what creates the value, is that you don't plant seeds of hatred. You don't, whether in your help, in yourself, or in others. So the cumulative effect of all this extremism is the accumulation of violence and hatred. The cumulative effect of the art of peace is curiosity, growth, friendliness. The seeds aren't there. There's always potential, but that potential is not situated as good or bad or worse than or better than. It's simply recognized as, you know, qualities of experience, and then it's blended with. So the idea is you're defeating the enemies before they even develop. Now, what it means by striking at the evil enemies within is very important, because we all hold that stuff. I mean, we all have things inside of us that kind of trigger us or encourage us to think a particular way, and or act a particular way. And by kind of recognizing those things, not making them good or bad, just recognizing for the qualities that they are, then we can start to pull them out. And as we pull them out of ourselves, they start coming out of the world that we engage in. And that's a good thing. Now, that's all sound fine and good in the context of, you know, the idea, but how do we, you know, make this into reality? And that's where we practice the training. So, to get ready for movement, move towards comfort. Move towards comfort. And as you're moving towards comfort, whatever it is, maybe it's elevating your feet, maybe it's taking a seat, try to notice what you're using. So what cues are you getting? If it's internal, right, you're kind of feeling in your body, you need to maybe do this or do that with your body. Or is it external? What you're perceiving outside of yourself. Maybe there's too much light. Maybe you want to go to an area that has, you know, something behind you, or maybe you want to move away from the window. Just notice those cues. So notice it's internal cue, you want to do something with your back or your spine or your chest, or it's external. So interoception is from the inside, exteroception is from the outside, what you're perceiving from the outside. Interoception is what you're perceiving from the inside. So as you're moving towards comfort, no hurry, as you're moving towards comfort, see if you can notice what's kind of moving you. Is it spatial, is it external, or is it internal? So once you've got to comfort, we'll begin. As the bell sound starts to fade, go ahead and take in the world around you. Exteroception. Got sound to my right. Got light and shadow. What do you need to see, or what do you need to hear or feel that's predictable in your kind of analysis of what you perceive outside yourself? What's your North Star? What's your Southern Cross? What's the thing that kind of triggers a sense of, yes, this is cool. I'm good here. You've got incoming sounds. You've got incoming light. You've got incoming breeze. From those things, from your perception of what's going on around you, what's stable enough, or what's your touch point that would enable you to say, totally be confident that this space is safe and predictable. Now let's move into second bell. Let's get into the body a little bit. As the sound of the bell disappears, let's get into the body. Interoception. So you're perceiving what's going on inside of you. So let's start with the feet. And you don't have to do anything special. You can point the toes, move them around. Feel free to just grab the foot and rotate it. You can even do something like this, just rubbing the bottom of your foot. Pound on a little bit. Move your toes around if you like. Feel the body. Feel the body at the feet. Getting toes. Getting those toes. Interoception. Okay, you're aware of what's going on inside, feeling your body. No one can interocept you, only you can. So shake that out. See if you can get into the thighs a little bit. Shake out the thighs. Oh, that feels nice. Now, when you get to the pelvis and the belly region, you've got a lot of potential for this type of stuff. Tucking and untucking, right? Tucking the tailbone, untucking the tailbone. Shifting, tilting. Your spine, your spine is a pathway to interoception. So when you're thinking about your spine, thinking about it at its base, at its core, at its heart space, at its throat, at the top of the head. So when you're thinking about that, putting it together with movement, shift left, shift right, interacting with the spine. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This is you participating with your own body. Feel free to add the arms. Maybe some shoulder blade action here. Jaw. Head rotation. Again, when you're kind of finding comfort, what are the cues? What cues are you receiving? You know, we talked about the cues that you're receiving from your external world, exteroception. What are the cues that you're perceiving from your internal world? So for me, I often look for cues in the kind of popping of my spine. I also look for a cue here in my jaw. I open my jaw if it pops or not. I often find cues in my eyes. So a cue for sleep with my eyes is, you know, that sense of the eyes wanting to close. And I know I'm starting to chill and relax when I start to feel my eyes kind of soften. It's cues, you know, these are these little cues. And over time, what you've developed is like a North Star or Southern Cross, whatever you choose, as a kind of a touch point, like something that you can rely on. But now let's get into what's called neuroception. So neuroception is a word that's used to describe how you're perceiving kind of the whole, right? So the whole of safety, the whole of connectivity. And so what you're ultimately developing as we go through these steps, as we go through the bells, is you're developing an accurate sense of neuroceptivity. So what's the whole picture? What's the external and internal giving you? What are you aware of? And then when you get into neuroceptivity, what you're experiencing is the level of thought and emotion and how that is connected to the world around you, to include your expectations about the rest of the day. So what you're doing with neuroceptivity is you're really getting into the kind of the fundamental essence of what it is to be fully present and accurately present. With someone with PTSD, they are experiencing a kind of inaccurate neuroceptivity with regards to the world around them. Their neuroceptivity is still geared towards what they went through as opposed to what they're doing right now. And so each time we practice, we're practicing kind of refining our neuroceptivity so that we are accurate and we start to accurately perceive the way that the world is interacting with us. So reciprocity, what you're putting out being seen by the world and what the world is giving back. Building that relationship. What we talked about in the context of today is when there's evil within, there's this perception of the world around us that's evil. And that comes from within. And that's when you strike at that, you're striking with that perception. And so once that perception starts to break apart, you're refining your neuroceptivity over time, recognizing these comfort touch points, moving towards comfort, recognizing reciprocity in the world, recognizing what works and what flows, and how so much of what you're feeling in the inside is being reflected outside and coming back. And so what you're doing is you're refining it with the training. And what we do at third bell with the breath and movement third bell is we add the breath element. So your breathing influences your internal world in an incredibly sophisticated way. So when you start to tie that together, so let's take a full breath in and full breath out. Let's do an inhale, look over one shoulder. Exhale, middle. Inhale, look over another shoulder. Exhale, middle. Inhale, arm up, tilt. Exhale, back to the middle. Inhale, arm up, tilt. Now what you're trying to do is just keep continuous movement. Try to add it to the breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Let's do a twist in there. Inhale. Exhale, add a twist. Inhale, take it forward. Exhale, take it down. All the way down. Dangle the neck. Inhale, take it up. And exhale back to the middle. Fourth bell. So each step, each bell is meant to support more accurate and refined neuroceptivity. And the way you break that down is the first kind of bell is exteroception. Their perception of the world around you through your senses. Exteroception is always present focused. It's not what your memories can come up with. It's not what you're imagining. It's what's happening. Then you move to the second bell, which is interoception. Interoception is an accurate, participatory move towards comfort. Moving towards comfort, finding comfort, recognizing what cues you to comfort, because what you're developing internally is reciprocity again. Now, reciprocity means to be seen and to be heard and to be acknowledged and back and forth. That's reciprocity. So the going into the body, participating with the body in a reciprocal way is very different than what we did in the military. What we did in the military was very much a get out as much as you can from the body. Get it. Get all of it. Works in combat, necessary. But now, it's what do I do to support my body being happy? What cues are there that kind of guide that? I've noticed another cue is spine here. Like I really feel, I feel upright here, as opposed to kind of just like this. Like this, when I feel on, this feels aligned. That's a cue that my body and I are kind of in sync. So, exteroception, right? External world. Interoception, your internal world, building a sense of reciprocity. And then when we get to the third bell, that's neuroception. Okay, neuroception is the accurate, refined, ever refining recognition of what's going on system-wide. What's emotional? What's the thought process, the thought speed, and then how to interact with it. Again, reciprocity. It's this flow. Okay? Now, the reason why we're doing that, the reason why we put this practice into the body, is so when we move out into the world, we're moving out with the most accurate information, the best understanding we have of ourselves, and a awareness that we can influence what's going on in the world as it interacts with us. Now, from today's stanza, if you don't have any awareness of this, if you're not training at all, if you're simply just kind of going by the whims of the day, and none of this has any kind of practice, or none of this is rooted in you, then you're taking whatever kind of extremes or seeds into the world with you. And I promise you, the biggest problem that we all face is that we create these enemies. We create these monsters, and then they always come back. And so the idea is, don't make them to begin with, and then not only that, work to kind of recognize what's within you to kind of get that out of there. And how you do that is through this practice. You're literally participating with what's happening inside of you in order to bring a harmonious kind of symphony of yourself to the world. And so let's go back over the stanza one more time. The penetrating brilliance of swords wielded by followers of the way strike at the evil enemy lurking deep within their own souls and bodies. So this is how I interpreted it about a year ago. The evil you see on the outside is only as evil as the amount of evil you have inside. Only a fool sees evil as an external phenomenon. A warrior knows evil and their potential for it, and that is power. So, do you know the evil that lurks within you? And by evil, I mean evil sucks. Evil takes. That's the thing about love gives. Love is patient. Love is kind. Evil is cruel. Evil takes. Evil pulls. I'm not trying to say that evil is good or bad. It's just what evil is. I mean, I wouldn't say a volcano is bad, right? A volcano spews hot lava. Hot lava burns you. I wouldn't say hot lava is bad. It just is. Evil just is, and to hate it or to be angry at it or to try to push it away, it's just not effective. The goal is to understand and to recognize its pull and its kind of roots and begin to just recognize them. And what happens when you recognize the kind of the evil within, it becomes more noticeable without, and you can begin to put into the world a more accurate, a more aware expression of yourself. I mean, just think about all these instances where, you know, the fullest expression of extreme, and how much it just cultivates more and more and more extreme. That's just what it does. There's no like judgment about it. It just does. And so when you start to see this within yourself and start to kind of pull it out and recognize more accurately how to bring your being along in a more accurate way, you'll see that there's a relationship that you can have that includes the reality of evil and darkness without kind of having it overwhelm you. So with that, I'll pass on. I'll kind of let you go from here. I'd really like to know your thoughts on these stanzas. I really would. I'm going to be teaching these stanzas for the rest of my life, I feel. This is I'm going to be a teacher of the art of peace, and it's going to be a lot more. So I'd love to know your thoughts on it. I'm so interested in how I know how I perceive all this stuff. I've been listening to my kind of trainings in years past, but I'd love to know what you think, and especially now with so much extremism in every conceivable direction, and kind of watching it play out. And do you notice it at all within yourself? Do you notice any of this stuff within you? And if so, what do you think about it? Anyway, we'll go get a cup of coffee. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.